Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, well, you know this doesn't work. Let's get open for business as always here. Um, I'm going to be leaving and going out of town Saturday. Going to be spending some time with the wife. It's kind of between our birthdays celebration as well as our 15-year anniversary. So we're going to take some time to go on a cruise with some friends and stuff. Something we've been planning for probably about 8, 9 months or so now. So it's here. And fortunately, she planned it during the bye week. So don't know how much I'll be able to actually live stream or to upload during that time. So trying to get care of business before I go on the cruise. And you know what's great about being a blogger, a YouTuber, a sports writer, anybody except the people who actually have to make the decisions on the field is it's easy for us to go ahead and second guess. It's easy on Monday morning to say, you did this, that, and the other wrong. But it's different than having to make the call in real time. So a lot of times you make things, you make a call and it works out great. Other times it blows up in your face. You just don't know, but that's what it takes when you're an NFL coach or when you're an NFL team. And it's easy to look back, of course, when you're not the one that has to deal with the consequences. Um, so we have Amari Cooper, who's now been signed, traded for with the Cowboys. And of course, the talk is, great move and things. You got a guy who's got experience as opposed to drafting somebody who you have to wait on. Or other people say, well, he's going to cost you 13 million next year. That's a whole lot of money for basically a draft pick because that's what he really is, and so on. And another thing that always seems to happen is whenever anybody is released, immediately we fans are saying we should get that guy, especially in free agency, because we go through free agency and say, man, we need to sign that guy. And looking at the numbers and what it costs for a free agent versus what it costs for a draft pick, it's a lot of money. Now, when we first were in the off season, free agency open, and Jerry Jones and them had talked to Sammy Watkins, but they deemed that 16 million that he was wanting was way too much, and I have to agree that that was too much. But that was the going rate. Um, but he signed with Kansas City. So looking back, knowing that they were going to cut Des Bryant, should the Cowboys have looked for some guys with a higher pedigree, some guys that would have cost more money than Michael Thompson and Alan Hearns? So, being that I'm a blogger and being that I can be a, excuse me, Monday morning quarterback. Sorry, it's hard to get through these with cold. The tea, the cough drops, the mucinex is just not getting me through for more than about 3 or 4 minutes. But Sammy Watkins, a lot of people thought, man, you need to sign him, get rid of Dez. Signed a $48 million contract that averages $16 million a year. Thus far this season, he's gotten 26 catches, 346 yards, and 1 TD. The next on the list was Allen Robinson with the Bears, 25 catches, 285 yards, 2 TDs. That's $14 million a year. Paul Richardson signed with the Washington Redskins. $40 million deal, $8 million a year. Has 16 catches, 212 yards, and 2 TDs. The Jags signed Marquise Lee for $34 million at 8.5, and he's on IR. Taylor Gabriel signed for $26 million, $6.5 million per year. This is the biggest bargain out there. He's got 30 catches for 329 yards and 2 TDs. Um, the outlier that's on here would be Michael Crabtree, who signed with Baltimore, 21 million for 3 years, 7 million a year. He's got 35 catches, 409 yards, and two TDs. So let's be honest. I mean, this is the list. There are no Pro Bowlers in there. Michael Crabtree might, if he can turn it on and pick it up just a little bit more in the second half. But when you start looking at 16 million a year for Sammy Watkins, and he's only got 26 catches, all of a sudden Michael Thompson and Alan Hearns, who got like 11, 12 catches or something like that for chump change, actually looks like kind of a bargain. So now as we look back and say, okay, we don't know what Amari Cooper's going to do right now at this moment. What we do know is he says he likes the ball that Dak Prescott throws. He's excited to be here, and sometimes that's part of the battle is having guys that are excited about being someplace and wanting to prove themselves. Because he's got the knock that things went bad the last 2 seasons. Well, things went bad the last 2 seasons for the Raiders. They fired their coach last year and brought in John Gruden, who was fire selling everything. So it's hard to be a Pro Bowler on a team that's going south. So we'll have to wait and see what he's able to do in limited time to get up to speed with the Cowboys and this late in the season. But looking at these numbers, it won't take a whole lot to have been worth what you signed him for. I mean, let's be honest. When you sign a free agent, generally speaking, you're signing him for 2 years. Because after 2 years, usually they have fizzled out and they've come too expensive to hold on to. And looking at these numbers, there's a whole lot of wasted money on wide receivers. But wide receivers is one of those positions that it takes time to develop. It's hard to draft a wide receiver and for them to just come out immediately and make an impact. It's very few and far between. At this moment, I think getting Amari Cooper for that first round pick, because you probably would have drafted a wide receiver in the first round next year, I think it's actually a pretty wise bet. We'll see what the Cowboys do with it. I've gone on and said, and people, it's so funny. Bosch always calls some of the Cowboy fans the 80% that just bitch, whine, moan, and don't really know that much about football. But I talked about Dak Prescott earlier this season, this today on a video, and I said Dak has regressed. I admit Dak regressed. The whole team has regressed because his numbers were awful where we just could not get over 200-yard games. And the first 3 games of the season were exactly that, 170, 160, somewhere around there for the third game. But what I said was, because I think in those first couple of games he only had 1 or 2 TD passes, is that it's beginning to rebound. His numbers are going up. After starting those first 3 games under 200 yards passing, the 3 of the last 4 have been over 200, and last week in the loss to the Redskins, surprisingly, he had 270 to Alex Smith, who only had 160. But that's not the narrative that you hear. So when you start looking at it, all of a sudden he went from averaging about 165 yards the first 3 games to 229 yards passing per game the last 4. He went from 0.66 touchdown passes for those first 3 games to 1.5 touchdown passes the last 4 games. So I said his numbers are trending up. And it was funny because somebody commented, "You're crazy. Dak has 1 game over 200 yards. He still sucks." I have no problem disagreeing with anybody. In fact, I enjoy disagreeing with somebody and having a discussion or a debate. And I don't get mad because somebody doesn't agree with me. But at least, if you're going to trash somebody's name and reputation, If you are going to say how bad they are, know what the hell you're talking about. Know what you're talking about. Don't come in here with some bull crap made up BS. Because what happens when you don't get your facts straight and you put it out there and people hear it enough times, they believe it. Because, see, that's the same thing that happened to Tony Romo. As much as everybody thinks that I hate Tony Romo, one of the reasons why I originally started doing what I do is because of the false narrative that was always out about Tony Romo. Tony Romo's the choker. Can't win the big one. He always chokes. When in fact he had more fourth quarter comebacks than anybody else at that time. More than Captain America, Captain Comeback, Roger Staubach. But because all the talking heads out there and fans and things would say, Tony Romo always chokes. That's what people believe. So when you come in here, have your facts and shit together. You want to pull out the numbers and say, here's why he sucks. Here's where it's not a regression, where he's not rebounding. Pull out the numbers. Know what you're talking about. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'll man up and say, you know what? I was wrong. You proved me wrong. Whew. Right now, I need to prove some warm salt water on this throat. So as always, friends, I want to thank everybody for all the support that you guys give me. And just can't wait till our next game. I'll see you guys soon.